You have the ability to play a bunch of different angles in a very short period of time.
I think my favorite part was punching myself in the leg repeatedly. It was difficult to act without the other person because I really enjoy relating.
Certain types of voices, people who are able to manipulate their
There
voices.
were a lot of radio programs,
but to make people feel like it's a new thing,
radio,
I think audio,
and a number of
drama,
different practices coming
podcasts
out,
just kind of
particularly of
expand.
the 1800s.
This message is being broadcast on all open frequencies. My name is Dr. Colleen Takana. I was a researcher at Synthetic Organics, where I specialized in the neuropathology of the synthetic neural cortex. I monitored whether or not synthetic organisms we were creating exhibited neurotypical behavior. But
it's interesting because when you think about the radio drama, I think you have to look at it in two different ways. One of those was the radio drama being plays.
I'll have these players play something like the murder of my father before my uncle.
So all you had to do was get the copyright permission and then actually do it. When you go into the other type of drama, that's the made for radio or made for television kind of series. People tuned in week to week because you had one storyline one week, and then that led to another storyline the next week, and so on and so forth.
Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars.
To voice act a radio play, it's not the same as going to the film, but at the same time, it offered something that would have been very difficult on television. They could just bring people in. I mean, Humphrey Bogart could be sitting there in his pajamas and just be like doing the lines of Casablanca. It wasn't, and yeah, you had to pay him, but oftentimes it was part of marketing.
My name is Karen Crow. This was originally going to be a recorded interview for release at a later date, but something's going very wrong at Synthetic Organics, and I'm streaming now. I've been using my phone to record audio, and I don't want to disrupt the... Shit!
It was interesting doing each line separately a couple of different times. Working in theater, I'm a little bit more used to going through a scene before going back. So this was new, going back over a tiny section. I've done some podcasting by myself, but I've always had a deep love for history since I was about 7 years old. I think my calling in life was probably to become a history professor, but I don't want to be tied down to a university. And honestly, I am kind of an analyst at heart. So everything I approach, including my career, including my hobbies, history, everything really I approach from that analytical lens, including acting, including voice acting.
Could I have you say and spell your name?
Sure. Dr. Frederick Ferguson, Frederick Ferguson.
Good. And what is your position here at Synthetic Organics?
I am the chief researcher, developer, and surgical compositor.
What does that mean, surgical compositor? Is it like a laminator?
Almost in some ways, the dialogue is clean and was a lot of fun to perform. It was difficult to act without the other person because I really enjoy relating. So even in a radio drama or just a voiceover drama, I do like seeing and having the other person in the same room, and that does change how I say things, depending on how they say things. But it's also kind of interesting to see how you'll edit it together. Yeah, I would love to do like a radio drama the way they did it in olden days, where the family would gather around the radio, primarily before the days of television, and listen to these broadcasts that would bring people together, and it would be live, and you would have a sound person creating all these sounds to really bring you to the environment, which would be a lot of fun. I'd love to do something like that as well.
Please, help me. me.
Shh. You have a cut.
There's a hole in my leg.
Yes. Oh.
Help me.
I'm not a doctor.
You wear a belt?
Sometimes.
Today!
Yeah?
Belts around the leg, above the hole, cloth in the wound, and wrap it if you can, as tight as fucking possible.
Sure.
As tight as fucking possible. So to make this, grabbed a script, started going through the lines. You'd say, give it to me 5 different ways, and then we'll go on to the next line. And then maybe throw in a suggestion like, all right, say it this way. Or say it in pain, or say it more in pain. There's a reporter at a genetic tech firm, and she's doing a story and is interrupted by chaos in the lab, and she runs into a man who appears to just be a victim, and as they are going through their conversation, the power dynamic sort of shifts between her having all the power to maybe he has all the power.
I have listened to and been a part of podcasts for Dungeons and Dragons, RPGs, role-playing games.
This message is being broadcast on all open frequencies. My name is Dr. Colleen Takana.
The rehearsal process and the character development, it's very different than theater, for example, in the sense character development happens over the course of time, whereas with radio dramas and things like that, you have the ability to be much more condensed and concise. You have the ability to play a bunch of different angles in a very short period of time, whereas in theater, if you were to do that on stage, your co-stars and the audience may not like it so much.
I teach mixture of classes, audio production, but I also teach conceptual classes in history. It depends who you're talking to. It's one of those things where I'll be in a class and I'll say radio, and people roll their eyes and say, no one listens to radio anymore. And when you say audio, they're like, oh, well, podcasting, all of that. And so I think for me, it's just an expansion of what we've been doing for a long time in radio, but to make people feel like it's a new thing, I think audio, drama, and podcast just kind of expands not only the way it's produced, but also the distribution model as well, that a lot of these dramas and podcasts in general aren't relying on over-the-air broadcasting to get distribution, that you can use Stitcher, you can use SoundCloud, iTunes to get it, and so just really expands the way people are getting audio media.
So dramatic radio, I think, working its way into the 1950s, realizing that radio is obviously quite a bit older than that, the technology is much older than that, but when you get into the 1950s, I wouldn't characterize it as the decline of radio because of television, but television certainly had a hand in supplanting the narrative impulse that was in radio.
Let's move on to your lab's developments.
Fantastic. We've made major advancements in genetic coding and data storage. Right now, we're able to reprogram 50% of an organic life form, that's both plants and animals, to store digital data.
What about human trials?
Human trials?
You've already started reprogramming human genetic code, even though it hasn't been approved yet.
No.
No?
No, we haven't.
Right, you wouldn't. Not on tape.
I wouldn't off the record either. It's as it is. It's on. What was that?
What about the rumors?
Really, I would say around the mid-2000s when it really became something that was possible, especially with the proliferation of broadband and being able to not only more easily download this content, although it didn't stop me from using things like Napster and peer-to-peer platforms to get similar content, but when it became possible to stream it, when it became much easier to download it, everyone can do it. What separates a lot of people's, one, the preparation, and two, using the right space, and that's something reporters do as well. As they're recording audio pieces, is they'll go to their car.
Me and Steve went out to Steve's car. I never had a car as a studio before.
In a car, it was the noise from outside was more stifled than I expected it to be.
This message is being broadcast on all open frequencies. My name is Dr. Colleen DeCana. I was a researcher at Synthetic Organics, where I specialized in the neuropathology
of the synthetic neural cortex. I monitored whether or not synthetic organisms.
It was different. I don't know if I enjoyed or didn't enjoy it. I enjoy this sort of thing in and of itself. Just generally, it's kind of fun. This, it's like, okay, that didn't come out right. Stop, reset, go forward, or start over. You have multiple takes. You have the option and opportunity to redo it.
This is going to sound weird. I think my favorite part was punching myself in the leg repeatedly. So the context was more pain. Obviously my character's in pain, and I'm not a very good actor, so I'm like, I'll just put myself in pain. DeCana said man's greatest flaw was his reasoning. The fact that he could rationalize any situation, no matter how horrible it made him. Destructive! What surprised me was how fast it was.
So I enjoyed the situation, and then the ability not to be too concerned about doing it wrong.
I apologize for the language, but if you wish to continue to bury your head in the dirt looking for shit, that's your business. But dumping it onto my lap won't get you the Emmy or the Pulitzer or whatever it is you're after.
I'm after the truth, Doctor.
That's cute. You're not, actually. You're looking for a soundbite, and I will not tolerate ambush journalism.
I think it was a lot of fun. For me, I think I find that I've got a voice that tends to go a little bit all over the place. I'm not very monotone.
I like how it grew in the moment. You know, within this particular short period of time, we created part of a story that's going to fit into the rest.
I monitored whether or not synthetic organisms we were creating exhibited neurotypical behavior, but they weren't. In fact, they displayed inherent psychotic.
There are many overlaps, but also enough dissimilarities, if you will, that you can have. It keeps your brain active. I like that. It keeps me active. My brain is constantly firing across the different mediums or media.
Fictional radio and a number of different practices coming out, particularly of the 1800s.
Keep going.
Genetic recalibration, part human genome, part synthetic, but without the flaws.
You know, it's a decline and it is an evolution. I think that, you know, the decline was in the late 40s into the 50s with the golden age of radio being about 15 years, and then television really taking over and people becoming much more enamored in television. And so then that started to relegate radio to a different position, something that would have been in the home and would have been part of your entertainment, or it would have been your entertainment center. And then when television took that spot, then radio became something that became more portable.
It seems you aren't so different.
Oh?
Surprised?
I just saved your life.
The means?
What?
You made me suffer for answers.
I think the combined immediacy and the fact that you're hearing someone reporting on the invasion just added that like extra layer of whether it was believability or dramatics for those who didn't start running outside and looking for aliens.
True or not, you made me feel pain. Curious. Perhaps you were no different.
What?
Perhaps there's another side to you we just don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the final product will sound like. Yeah.
This message is being broadcast on all open frequencies. My name is Dr. Colleen DeCana. I was a researcher at Synthetic Organics, where I specialized in the neuropathology of the synthetic neural cortex. I monitored whether or not synthetic organisms we were creating exhibited neurotypical behavior, but they weren't. In fact, they displayed inherent psychotic symptoms. In humans, we would categorize this condition clinically as an antisocial personality disorder. In these cases, it would be an understatement, especially the one calling himself Stuart. These creatures exist. The company would like to silence me, call me paranoid, even have me diagnosed as schizophrenic, but I'm not. These things are
There. Is that good?
Yeah,
Just there?
actually, I'm just gonna... Okay, good. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Whatever you need.
Could I have you say and spell your name?
Sure. Dr. Frederick Ferguson, Frederick Ferguson.
Good. And what is your position here at Synthetic Organics?
I am the chief researcher, developer, and surgical compositor.
What does that mean, surgical compositor? Is it like a laminator?
Not quite. As our technologies and procedures deal in large part with digital interfaces interacting with bioorganic materials such as animals, plants, and humans, we must recode the genetic composition of the given subject or patient.
Bioorganic compost. Our body's waste.
Sharp. But what the mind considers waste, the earth considers nourishment. Even our devices and machines. Think of the advancements made in the past decade in biofuel. Our dependence on oil and fossil fuels has dropped 78% in the last 2 decades due to human waste and compost.
Let's move on to your lab's developments.
Fantastic. We've made major advancements in genetic coding and data storage. Right now, we're able to reprogram 50% of an organic life form, that's both plants and animals, to store digital data.
What about human trials?
Human trials?
You've already started reprogramming human genetic code, even though it hasn't been approved yet.
No.
No?
No, we haven't.
Right, you wouldn't. Not on tape.
I wouldn't off the record either. It's as it is. It's on... What was that?
What about the rumors?
The world is full of them.
Kind of like the ones claiming not only have you commenced with human experimentation, but that there are synthetically augmented people.
Augmented? Wow! None of my subjects have ever been augmented.
So we're just subjects to you now.
Plants and animals, Ms. Crow, not people.
Gene splicing, I believe it was called. Yes, by Dr. Colleen DeCana.
Dr. DeCana was released to the care of her personal physician and psychiatrist for reasons that are confidential.
Confidential, my ass. She stood up against Goliath and was cut down like Job.
Like Job. Okay, Ms. Crow. First off, this company has done more to advance the human and environmental conditions since the discovery of global climate change. Personally, I'd say since the invention of the fucking wheel. Right now, our chances of surviving the next 20 years on this rock are greater than they have been in the past 20 centuries, which speaks volumes considering this government's predecessors nearly fucked us into oblivion. I apologize for the language, but if you wish to continue to bury your head in the dirt looking for shit, that's your business. But dumping it onto my lap won't get you the Emmy or the Pulitzer or whatever it is you're after.
I'm after the truth, Doctor.
That's cute. You're not, actually. You're looking for a soundbite, and I will not tolerate ambush journalism.
What was that?
Must be the weather.
No, that wasn't. What the hell is going on?
I don't know. Wait here.
Shit. My name is Karen Crow. This was originally going to be a recorded interview for release at a later date, but something's going very wrong at Synthetic Organics, and I'm streaming now. I've been using my phone to record audio, and I don't want to disrupt the... Shit! Shit! Shh. You have a cut.
There's a hole in my leg.
Yes, a hole.
Help me.
I'm not a doctor.
You wear a belt?
Sometimes.
Today!
Yeah?
Belts around the leg, above the hole, cloth in the wound, and wrap it if you can, as tight as fucking possible.
Sure.
As tight as fucking possible.
What happened?
I can't. I know who you are, what you're doing here.
Who am I? The one looking to bring down this monstrosity of a company, or the one trying to save your life?
It was one of them!
Them?
A synthetic organism.
Keep going.
Genetic recalibration. A part human genome, part synthetic, but without the flaws. Dakota said man's greatest flaw was his reasoning. The fact that he could rationalize any situation, no matter how horrible it made him. Destructive, vicious. There's nothing he wouldn't do so long as he can justify the means. It seems you aren't so different.
Oh?
Surprised?
I just saved your life.
The means?
What?
You've made me suffer for answers. True or not, you made me feel pain. Curious. Perhaps you are no different.
What?
Perhaps there's another side to you we just don't know yet. I think we might want to see how far your cruelty goes.
What the?
Let's be